Hi, this is an instructional video on how to use the Spice Connect web portal for all the web EDI suppliers that are trading with the Northwest Company and are required to return the current EDI documents that the Northwest Company is requesting. These documents include a PO acknowledgement, an advanced shipping notice, and an invoice. We're going to go through on how to log into the portal, on how to require support if you are unsure or have questions on how to use the portal, and also some of the basic features in navigating through the portal. Each web EDI supplier is going to get an email with their credentials and a link to the Spice Connect portal, which will take you to a page similar to this. Currently, this is a test site, so in case there's any data information that looks obscure, please just ignore that information as test data. Logging into the portal, you just have to simply click on this link to take you to the credentials. From here, you would enter your username and password and then click login. If at any point you forget your username or password, you can retrieve that information by clicking on this link and entering basic information as in most web portals. You can either enter a username or you can enter an email address and then click the button to retrieve my lost information. Once you have your login credentials, again, you enter the information and click login, and you can save that on your browser. Again, if you have any questions or issues logging in or even processing the documents required and how to, you can always contact our support team at connectsupport@spicetg.com or calling the toll-free number on the main login page. So right now we're going to log into the portal and go through some of the steps and administrative. So before we get through to some of the administrative tasks, the first screen you will notice once you log in is a dashboard screen. This is simply an informational screen. It doesn't require any action or anything else for the web suppliers to do. This is just indicating what the count of orders you have and the different stages that each of these orders are at, which include waiting for a POA, waiting for ASN, waiting for invoice. This is simply an overview. And if you'd like to further drill down, you can by clicking on each of these pie charts, or also by clicking on the count on this table view that allows you to drill down and look at the actual documents involved related to these links. Again, this is all for informational purposes and no action is required on this dashboard screen. Before we get into how to process an order for the Northwest Company, we're going to go through a couple of administrative tasks. And you can find most of these under the profile link. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of other features here. Most of these other features that you may see here are not used or required. The main ones that you may want to use will be highlighted and I will go through them right now. One of them would be account management. Account management allows you to add extra people to your web supplier account so you can have multiple users processing orders if required. And all you have to simply do is click create to add new users. And once added, you can also edit their email address if required. Another administrative task and feature that you can use, like most portals, is changing your password. So once you log in, you can go and update your password if required. That's a very basic feature. And another main feature that you would want to use or check is email subscriptions. Now, email subscriptions is basically alerting web suppliers, because they don't do EDI direct, when they're supposed to log in and when they receive the PO from the Northwest Company. So rather than randomly check daily or whenever you need to find out when a PO is being sent by the Northwest Company, if you have a email subscription for PO alerts, such as PO arrived, PO changed, and you're subscribed, then you should receive under your profile that you log into an email alert directly to your email Outlook account. And if you want to subscribe to other document alerts, such as purchase order acknowledgement or ASNs, you can also do those, or you can unsubscribe at any point to any of these by simply checking or unchecking the box and then clicking update to update the subscription. So those are some of the basic features for administrative tasks. Another feature that you can use is the advanced search once you're logged in. If at any point you're trying to search a specific purchase order or invoice number, You can do that by clicking on the advanced search. This will search the whole database of your account, and you can enter in the document number if it's related to Northwest. The document type, you can enter invoice, POA, ASN, or you can leave it default as blank to search the whole system for that document number. And then once the search is complete, it should result with the document number you were looking for. I'll show you a quick example, and I will grab a purchase order that's already been completed. So I'm going to copy the PO number, and then I'm going to click advanced search, type in the PO number, and this search is also can perform a partial search of document number, so you don't need the entire PO number. You can just put in partial document number, and when you click search, it should bring up everything that starts with this document number. And as you see, there's different documents involved. It also lists the document types such as PO, POA, invoice that are related to your search. Again, you can narrow down the search at any point if you further want to put in different values. At this stage, you can also highlight any of these rows if you want to look further into the document by clicking on it. And when you click on it, it'll actually bring you into the document itself and details so that you can view the actual invoice number, payment terms, the items, total amount of the invoice if required. And the same applies to other documents that you see in the search screen. So that's just another basic feature for searching through the system for documents. If ever you need to find out where a certain order is at. Now I'm going to go through the basic process of how to complete your documents and process your orders for the Northwest companies. Again, when you first log in, you're going to go to the dashboard. But then in order to process your orders, everything will be actioned through the purchase order folder. So the purchase order folder will have different stages. You'll have your inbox when you first receive a PO from the Northwest company. Then once you begin to process your order and acknowledge it, it will move to in progress status. And those orders include orders that have been acknowledged, where the POA has been completed, or that have been partially shipped or partially invoiced. Once an order is fully completed, meaning it's been fully shipped, fully acknowledged, that will move to history. And there you can view a history of all the orders that have been completed. If there's any orders in your inbox or in progress that have been partially completed and you no longer require, you could always check on them and move them to history manually if preferred. And this helps kind of clean your account and keep the inboxes in progresses up to date. So how to complete an order. We'll go through that shortly, but one other thing I want to highlight is that these other folders that you see are the documents that the Northwest company requires each web supplier to create and return. Purchase order acknowledgement, advanced shipping notice, invoice. Now, these folders you don't access in order to create the documents. They're more for archived purposes so that you can view any of the documents you've started working on and saved, or any of the documents you've sent or moved to history. And the same applies for ASNs and invoice. Again, all the actions, as you'll see, the processing of the orders take place through the purchase order folder. So the first thing you would do is go to your inbox. And you'll notice in the PO inbox, it gives you high-level information. Purchase order number, the type, if it's original, your trading partner, Northwest, the date posted, deliver by expected, the PO creation date. And the status, new or viewed, simply means that somebody's clicked on this line and viewed the document. For example, if I click on this line, I can now view the details of this purchase order, the different items, the quantity, the pricing, and then I can go back to my inbox. And now you'll notice the status has changed to view. So in order to process an order, what you want to do again is click on any of these rows that you want to process that order, and then it'll take you to the next screen. And here, the next step will be indicated that's required for this document. So right now, it's telling me that the next step required is creating acknowledgement. Before you do that, you can always scan down and look at the actual purchase order details if you prefer, but there's no action to be taken on this screen itself. There is some other features that you can use on the screen, such as printing a hard copy of this PO if you prefer, or saving it as a PDF to your desktop. So creating an acknowledgement, how does that work? Click the button and it takes you to the next screen, which is purchase order acknowledgement. In this screen, you will see the PO details, and each of these lines will give you a status of the line and quantity and expected delivery date. You can change any of these statuses at any point, or you can leave the defaults from the order as is. If you decide you want to change the delivery date on a certain line, you can do so by just clicking the calendar icon and changing the delivery date. It highlights it in orange or a different field so that it's visible to see that you've made a change. Quantities you can also change. If you're not shipping the full quantity, you can just ship some of the quantity. Now the system will automatically assume you want to back order the remaining quantity. And if you decide that you're not going to back order the quantity left over, you can always remove that delivery schedule from this purchase order acknowledgement by clicking the red X. And you also have the ability to change the statuses of items, item accepted, item back ordered, rejected. So you have these other ones available as well. Now to complete your order acknowledgement, if everything else on the list is agreed upon, then all you need to do is click the send button. So it will take a few seconds, but then you should receive a message such as this, a pop-up window that says your document has been sent. So at this point, your PO acknowledgement has been sent over to the Northwest Company. Now you also do have an option that if you make a mistake on your PO acknowledgement, you can delete and resubmit it. Again, if you have questions or difficulties, you can always call our support team. Now that we have completed the purchase order acknowledgement for this purchase order, we want to move on to the next step. So I'm going to take a copy of this PO number. And as I mentioned earlier, once you start processing your order, you will see that your order will move out of your inbox because this is where they initially load. And now it should appear in your in progress. So there's the purchase order that I just acknowledged. And there's the extended document number 130. Now this screen also indicates what's been done on each of these orders. So for example, the top PO, it says that a purchase order acknowledgement has been partially done, and that's because the quantity was changed. It's telling me that the ASN, advanced shipping notice, is incomplete and that the invoice is incomplete. And that gives you the other statuses for these orders as well. So we're going to complete the other two EDI documents. Again, click on the PO anywhere on the line and it opens up the details. So again, this is just giving you a view of the purchase order quantity and currently what's been acknowledged, the amount of quantity. As you go through each of these documents and complete them, the statuses of each of these columns will update. So again, you just click Create ASN to get to the Advanced Shipping Notice screen. So this screen does allow you to ship multiple POs on one advanced shipping notice, but that's not recommended because it could create problems. It's best to have one purchase order per advanced shipping notice. So the basic information or required information for advanced shipping notice is highlighted or indicated by asterisks. The weight and option of your shipment is optional. You can enter it if you do choose. You have different options and selections. Packaging code is required, so it could be carton or pallet. And your carrier name, you can enter in what's required. Your deliver by date can be changed. The ASN date will always default to the current date. And your bill of lading, you can enter that. And if the tracking number, bill of lading are the same, you can enter the same value if required, but the tracking number is also required. And the carrier type is required. And again, if there's other selections that you may need, please contact our support team and they may be able to add them to the drop-down list. So your ship from default should appear. And if it does not appear when you're creating the ASN, there actually isn't a feature, which I did not include earlier, but it's called address management. So in that address management, you can create ship from default addresses if you have multiple locations, and those will automatically populate once you create your ASN. So how to complete the advanced shipping notice? So that right now it's giving me the purchase order number, and then it's giving me the details of what's been ordered and the quantity that's supposedly being shipped that was acknowledged for each of these items. So there's 4 items on this purchase order. So if I decide that I want to ship one of these items on a carton, now you do have the option of using pallet or pack, but you cannot combine them on the same ASN. You could either use pallet or pack. So we'll go through the basic ones such as pack or carton. So to pack the items into a carton, and you will need to know ahead of time what's been physically packed or what's been put on a pallet before you create your advanced shipping notice. Again, click on Add Pack, and I will scroll down, and it will create your empty pack or carton. It will assign an automated case ID. Please do not edit this case ID because this is unique and auto-generated. It does require you to then put in a type of pallet that's being shipped cartons from. The unit of measure is required, and unit weight of that carton if you have it. If you want to include one or more items, you can do by following these steps. So normally you can uncheck all the items, and then you can just select which items you want to include in that particular carton. So for example, let's say we want to include item number 2, and we're going to include the full ship quantity of 3. We check item number 2, we go down to the bottom and we add the selected item to the carton. So now this item has been added to the carton. And again, the required weight, pack weight is also mandatory here. Now, if you want to add a secondary item, you can by simply clicking on the item, and you can add partial quantity. You don't need to add the full quantity. So out of this quantity of 12 that was ordered, we're going to put 6 into this particular carton. So again, we check mark the line number 3, we click add selected items, and then it will add it to the same case ID, same carton. And again, here you're required to put in the weight of that item that you're packing. And these are just examples I'm using. If you do make a mistake and you add an item, or you want to remove an item from a carton that you added by mistake, you can click on the red X again, and that'll simply remove it. And what you'll see is that it takes it and puts the quantity back into your order screen that you were order information screen above. Now, if you want to add a second carton, you simply click Add Pack, and then it will create another case ID. So you put in the required information that you know for this pack, and then you can add, as an example, we'll add 2 items. We'll add line number 1 as 12, and then we'll add line number 2 as 6. We'll go down to the empty case and click Add Selected Items. So now it's added line number 1 as 12 and line number 3 as 6. And again, you can continue doing that until you fully ship or completely pack your order. At this point, if you are partially shipping this order and you're done with this particular ASN, you can submit it as is. Now make sure before you click send that you don't have any line items in the order information still checked on. If you do, you will get an error message, which I'll demonstrate now by clicking send. It's trying to validate that item that's been checked. So, and it's also indicating that the pack weight I forgot to enter on this particular carton because this is required information. So I'm just going to put in pack weight here, pack weight for this item. I'm going to uncheck this so there's no item selected. Otherwise, it's expecting that if you have a check mark that you still need to pack that item, in which case, in this example, we don't. So we have 2 cartons on this ASN and that are going to be shipped. So if all the information is filled in correctly, we should be able to send this and get a successful message. ASN successfully sent. And just click OK. So your ASN has been sent. If you do need to reprocess your ASN, we don't have a feature that users can automatically delete because at this point it's already been sent over to Northwest Company. It's best to contact the support team and they can work with you on deleting and recreating the ASN and ensuring that also the Northwest Company is able to update the new ASN that you will be sending. So now I'm going to complete the last step for the EDI documents workflow for the Northwest Company, and that's creating the invoice. So I'm going back to the purchase order in progress. I can then do a search for this by clicking filter this order again. If I have a lot of orders that I want to go through, you can simply search it through this quick document number. Now you do have the option, again, because this purchase order was partially shipped, you should see what's left over on it to be shipped at. So this line item 1 was completely shipped from the original order quantity 12. This was partially shipped because the 3 was only acknowledged, and this was partially shipped. And this item wasn't shipped at all. If you do at this point or any point forward decide that you want to ship the remaining quantities, you click create ASN and it takes you to the same similar screen that you just updated, and then you fill in the required information, you pack the 2 items that are left over on this order, and you click send to process it. So it's fairly straightforward. Again, I'm just going to go through the next step, which is creating the invoice. So I'm going to search the PO that I was working on. And as you can see the statuses of this purchase order, it says that PO was partially done, ASN was partially done. So we can do an invoice, and the invoice will be on the ASN of what we shipped, because obviously you cannot invoice items that haven't been shipped out. So you can click on the purchase order line, and now it takes you to this screen indicating which document do you want to move on to next, create an ASN for what's left over or create an invoice. So now we're going to create an invoice. So the invoice number, again, where you see on the web portal a question mark, it gives you some tips on how to enter the information so that you can put in an invoice number that's required. So anything with a red asterisk is required. Your invoice date will default to today's current date. Your vendor number should automatically default. Your transportation method is required that your items were shipped on. And then you are allowed, again, to edit the payment terms here And all this information and all these steps that I've been explaining are all in the user guide, PDF user guide as well, that's online under the help section. So you should have a remit to default address. If you want to have this auto-populate again, you go to the profile and address management, and you can create your ship to defaults, your remit to default addresses. And if you have any difficulties, again, contact our support team on how to do that. So right now, it's explaining what has been shipped and what can be invoiced. So we shipped these 3 items for these amount of quantities. Here's the pricing, here's the extended price. Now you have the option on the invoice screen to individually add allowances or charges per each line. But in most cases, suppliers would just add allowances or charges at the invoice or document level. So to do that, you would click Add Summary Allowance or Charge. Again, you can select what it is that you will be applying to the invoice, such as an allowance or charge. Then there's a drop down to pick which allowance or charge you're going to apply. You do have the option to put in a fixed amount if you decide, dollar amount, or you can put in a percentage. You can always switch it. So if you put in a percentage and then click outside of the box, it will auto-populate based on the ordered subtotal. And if you need to add a secondary charge, you can do that, or an allowance. You can select from one of these here. So we'll just do $2 discount. So you should see $2 subtracted. And then you can click recalculate total. Well, that should give you your grand total. Now at this point, you can still have the opportunity to edit it. You can save this document, and this save feature also exists for ASNs. If you begin working on an ASN and you have no time to complete it, you can save it. So if you do decide to save your invoice and come back to it later, you can just simply click save as incomplete, and the same applies with the other 2 EDI documents such as POA, PO acknowledgement, and ASN. Once you save it, though, you will need to retrieve it again under invoice and saved, and the same applies to ASN saved and POA saved. So if you go into invoice saved, here's the invoice, there's the PO number that I just created that I saved. Again, I can make edits, remove any of these charges, or add more. Otherwise, if you are okay with what the totals, you can then click send. You will get a warning message just confirming, is this what you want to send over, and this is the correct total, please confirm yes or no. Click send, and then again you should get a successful message saying that your invoice has been sent. You click OK and you're done. So this is how to create each of these documents, and most of the steps again are all highlighted in the PDF user guide, which will be available under the help section. And again, if users or anyone has questions at any time, they can always contact our support team. This is the end of the instructional video, and thanks for following and watching.